Hello, and welcome to another episode of playing Crusader Kings 3 using the hardest possible rule set, starting in 867 as a stewardship-focused landless adventurer. So this is our 6th episode, I believe, and the real question here is, where do we want to become landed? We're still in our original character. He is still landless. And the main issue here is the question of whether we think England or Denmark will come out on top in the end of these struggle between these two scourge conquerors. We also have to be cognizant of Russia over here, which is also a scourge conqueror, and in fact is stronger than either Denmark or England. One concern is that Denmark's scourge conqueror is 66 years old, while for England, 25 years younger. And even though we're playing on rules that say all of the landed, independent heirs of a scourge conqueror will inherit the scourge conqueror trait, that's not actually true. I've seen plenty of times where even the primary heir of a scourge conqueror, for whatever reason, does not inherit the trait. So there's a concern that when King Sigurdur, Snake in the Eye, here dies, maybe the person that takes over his huge realm won't be a scourge conqueror, and they would be very vulnerable to being attacked by either England or Russia. So partly we're just waiting to see how that pans out. There's also the concern that at some point we are going to have to make a decision about where we want to become landed and just go with it and hope it works. But in the meantime, we are waiting a bit, and instead we're just taking our contracts and building up our gold, which is relatively considerable at this point. So, fortunately, our son, these aren't options that I like, really. Arrogant, it's not a good option unless you're tribal. If you're tribal, that +1 prestige is great. Otherwise, not so much. Fickle, I'm probably prejudiced against it back when stewardship determined the domain limit, even though it no longer does. But he is a stewardship character. I do want him to have a good stewardship. That leads to generous. Generous is quite good trait late in the game when you're already established, you're making plenty of gold, and your biggest concern is keeping your vassals happy, particularly upon succession. +3 diplomacy, +15 courtly vassal opinion. That's just great. But we don't even have a single vassal yet, much less a lot of vassals to worry about. Under those circumstances, the -10% income really hurts. But be that as it may, I think generous is the best of these, even though it's not very good. We also have to hope that his stewardship will make up for it otherwise. We'll also try to make him patient, which is a better trait. Same thing for our daughter here. Let's see if we can make her patient. What we're probably going to do is after, for her, whether we make her patient or not, we're probably going to switch off of her, make someone else her tutor, the person that her guardian. Geez, trying to think of the word there. Make someone else her guardian, and we will become the guardian of our second son, who is currently only 4 years old. Okay, she did not become patient. That's too bad. Again, we will remove ourselves as her guardian, give her to someone else who is good. Then we will become guardian of that son. We will try to make him diligent to start off with. Talked before about how important it is to really become the guardian of your likeliest heirs if you're trying to play optimally. And that's what we're doing here. And again, if you're role playing or just want to be surprised by what traits and education your heirs have, that's totally fine, totally understandable thing to do. But I do think it helps to to realize that playing optimally is pinning your children up here and checking them frequently. And if you want to deviate from that for for your own reasons, for role play or for challenge or whatever, that's all totally fine. But I think it's good to know what is optimal, and then you can decide that you don't want to play optimally and want to do something else. But at least you'll understand what you're giving up. Guessing these are still going to be on cooldown, but I would guess incorrectly. I guess we could go with this guy. He has, he's intelligent, has some good stats. See how? Okay, so we have maxed out Blade Master. There's no reason to spend more money on that. Check here if there's anyone who will pay us a good chunk of gold. 31, 28 aren't terrible, but they aren't great either. Maxed out Blade Master. That person has a prowess of 5. We have a player heir if we need it, so I think we go for this. So really looking for something where the likelihood of success is higher than the risk of injury. This one looks good. This looks good. So at some point I may just go for take over Phrygia here. This guy, now he has a strong ally, but on his own he's very weak. He's severely in debt. So I think it would be relatively easy to take it over. Probably hire some mercenaries to help, but there is sort of the again the question of, do I take it over, become landed, and then immediately see England attack Phrygia and cause me to become unlanded again. That's obviously what we want to avoid. Once I become landed, I'm hoping that that's it. I'll be landed the rest of the game and build up my power from there. But part of the strength of this starting as this unlanded stewardship character, I mean, the strengths are really, you can earn a lot of gold, and because you start off unlanded, you don't have to worry as much about scourge conquerors taking your land. And you can pick, the best place you think there is to to eventually set up where you're going to be landed. But there is the problem that can cause a sort of paralysis where you just don't know because of your lack of certainty of where you want to be landed. You just end up, being unlanded for a very lengthy period of time, which is really not what I'm interested in. If you watch my prior videos, I'm just not a huge fan generally of the landless play style. I think it's sort of repetitive. It has some interesting aspects, but I'd rather get on to landed play. I think that's just more interesting to me, at least. Again, just looking at the highest chance of success there, which we did get. Probably going to be teaching them all defender. Wasn't a great success, but relatively good success. This guy is terrible. Why? I do love how the third option is phrased. I guess we'll hire him. I don't know. Probably would have been better just to hold out for someone better. But anyway, we hired him. Just looking to see what the neighboring scourge conquerors are doing. So there again, just using my stewardship, which is very useful to really fly through those contracts. Guess we'll do some camp revelry. Again, to a large extent here, we are just sort of waiting to see what happens between England and Denmark. Take the prestige. We have a massive amount of prestige at this point, but always fine to have more. See, we maxed out there. Increased the size of our baggage train building, got a bunch of other benefits, so very useful. That's not what I meant to do, unfortunately, but whatever. Meant to visit the castle holding. We can do some traveling. Let's find a temple and go there. I'm looking for some of the benefits of a temple, particularly the increase in lifespan. Yep, so blessing of peace. Let's see, plus 25 life expectancy that only lasts for 5 years. Guess we can get that boost as well. Just looking to see what's going on. Guess we can go instruct some more knights. Not sure why it's deselecting what I've selected, but I mean, you know, scout for talent we can no longer take because of we now automatically have it as one of our perks from stewardship, so that's understandable, but why it deselects the others is less clear. Take this quick contract here. So we are stewardship focused. More gold. On all 5 chapters, we have very good skills. We should be able to complete this relatively easily. Stewardship whenever we can, since it's what's most likely to succeed, and also gets us some more gold. Always want more gold. Just love having lots of gold. And our plan here is once we do become landed, we'll put all this gold to work in terms of building up our domain as quickly as possible. Really establish our economic base and then use that to support our armies and go from there. Okay. Oh, poor Scotland, led by a 6-year-old, 3-year-old. Yeah, not looking good there. There was a time when Alba was itself led by a scourge conqueror, and the guy who currently rules England, actually a scourge conqueror from Wales. You can see that Wales and England are currently both led by scourge conquerors who are the same age. I assume they're not brothers. Are they brothers? Yeah, who are brothers. And that was because, I guess when their father died, who was the original scourge conqueror, they split off Wales from England. Obviously, it doesn't look like Wales has done very much, and England is quite strong. Another large Burgundy there. Denmark is not at war. Their troops are quite low for some reason. I guess it's mostly their levies. I don't know if they got stack wiped somehow or what happened. Not sure why they're missing so many of their levies. All right, let's continue. Just make sure we check this. Yeah, we can't get any more contracts. Might as well escort this emissary somewhere. Because we're going over the water, we want to get experienced captains to really reduce the risk of having a catastrophic boat accident that causes, me and most of my family to die. That obviously would not be good at all. Hopefully our children will get a good education, 4-star education. Let's have to see. See, we're getting dividends from the 4 holdings that we founded. It's part of the strategy to get as much gold as we possibly can. And again, really it was simple. The idea in terms of playing this character, starting as this landless stewardship character, is very simple. Be able to enable us to wait, let some of the political landscape, all these, these, who would be a scourge conqueror, who would win fights between scourge conquerors, sort of let that all sort itself out, so we could pick the best place, the safest place to be our domain once we became landed. That was one part of it. The other part is to accumulate a lot of gold. And we could use that gold to very quickly improve our economy. May just want to move somewhere else at this point. Go back to Thuringia. You're not fighting anyone, though you... Yeah. Let's take another look at Phrygia here. The development's kind of low, frankly. I would have thought it'd been like 10 or 11 by now. You see Paris has 15. Even like these places have 9, 7, 7. I do keep leaning toward, maybe we just go to Phrygia and take it over. Utrecht would also be very easy to take over. Utrecht is... It's just a question of and then it's all it's all Dutch. So I assume we would not, since we are ourselves Dutch, I assume we'd get fewer revolts and be able to form the Kingdom of Phrygia. And you use that as our power base. That does, create a concern that Denmark is not yet an empire, does not yet have an empire title, so we would not be able to form the Kingdom of Phrygia until they, in turn, had formed an empire if we were going to be their vassal. And likely that's where we'd want to be. But anyway, I think let's move our camp and find some more contracts. Go get to a more central location, really. And again, we're just going to keep plowing through the contracts. This guy, frankly, just the stats really aren't worth saving. I always have some concern about, my video style has been to play and post these unedited videos. I do have some concern that when, like now, we're just doing contracts over and over again, that it's not the most compelling content. But I do hope it shows what the game is really like to people who aren't as familiar with it, and for people who are experienced but who are curious about what it really looks like to play on this hardest possible difficulty. You get to see exactly what it looks like. Anyway, I hope it's entertaining. I have thought about trying to create some edited videos, such as of my last run. So maybe I'll get around to doing that. Of course, that would require me to develop some sort of editing skills, so we'll have to see how that all plays out. But for now, here we are going to continue in terms of just going through these contracts and really sort of waiting to see what develops. And that is, I think, a significant part of playing on this level of difficulty is often you are going to be waiting and just sort of seeing how things go. I've said in the prior episode, part of what I find compelling about playing on this difficulty is that you're not in control of everything you want to do. You can't just start a game and say, okay, I'm going to go conquer India, or I'm going to go form the Roman Empire, or whatever, and have that happen in a straightforward fashion. Instead, you're really sort of at the mercy of what the Scourge conquerors in particular do, and you have to react to them, and really sort of you let them dictate what happens, and then you have to respond. And I think that requires more sort of decision making, and at least in a certain sense is more interesting than just being able to boot up the game and do whatever you want right from the get-go. And here we have a high enough percentage chance of just embellishing it that we just try to do it over and over again and get the best possible result. Okay, good luck. I mean, that's, again, the AI, very interesting decision to attack. You know, you're outnumbered like what, literally 200 to 1. Not sure what the thought process was there, but okay. Take the stewardship contracts here since that is our specialty. Guess we could get Leopold there. He had a very high prowess, so he should be a good knight. My plan had been to buy some land, but at least the land being offered by Sigurdur here isn't that great. And so I think we are going to end up having to fight for some of our land. Just a matter, I'd really like him to become an emperor. I would have thought he had enough of Francia to form an empire, but maybe not. Maybe Germania. He's getting plenty of Scandinavia. You think at some point he would be able to form an empire, but who knows? Go do this quick. Quick contract. Guess we'll see how this tutoring trip works. See about getting more contracts here. Guess it's still on cooldown, surprisingly. Go transcribe some text. Generally fine to have my followers marry each other. Don't really care, frankly. Change this to be experienced captain so we don't drown, and go from there. We could found another holding, but I mean, we're getting older. My understanding is that the holdings stop paying you money once you die, so they don't transfer over to your heir. just not a big light cavalry person. I mean, this is it's very powerful. If you're someone, or if you were using light cavalry, if you were in Africa and using those Sahel horsemen, or in Iberia, I think they have some special light cavalry. This would be great. I just don't know. On the other hand, for 75 gold, man, I almost feel like I almost have to do it. I guess that's the question about whether do we send it on to him. Sure. He's a worth 200. Who's King Adolf of Bavaria? If there were almost any other unique artifact, I think I would keep it. Certainly if they were like the Ark of the Covenant or something, I would definitely have kept it. But I don't think that Alexander's armor, I'm just not a big light cavalry user, at least with, these sort of like standard European characters. Okay, so it does look like, yes, Snake in the Eye, Sigurd are there, form Germania, so that's good. I think I've had a, yeah, so I'm gonna think about it for a minute, but I think I've had enough of the landless life. I think it's time to become landed. I there's a part of me that thought it would be interesting to get some land down here in Spain, perhaps do participate in the Iberian struggle. But I don't know. There's too much. Don't know that's really worth doing that. This guy's really sort of struggling against Alba. Because I thought he would have destroyed them much more easily. I mean, again, the question comes down to if his heir is not a scourge conqueror, then real risk from England. Presumably, will eventually beat Alba and then become Britannia, so they'll be their own empire. I mean, what we'll be relying on is that Phrygia is a relatively small kingdom. Presumably, England slash Britannia will be going after, West Francia, Aquitaine, Kingdom of Germany, and places like that before they turn on Phrygia, but you just don't know. I'm also curious, who will I be hybridizing with? The French are creating agrarian. That's somewhat interesting. The Dutch are still in the tribal era. No, they're moving toward early medieval. I guess that's not too bad. The Norse are still united. Presumably, they're going to be splitting up soon. Just thinking about like somewhere like Barcelona. It looks like Al Sark is beating up on them a bit. We do have a lot of Mubarazm who would unfortunately counter us. Our only troops at the moment are Varangian veterans and Huskarls. Yeah. All right, let's go beat up on this 5-year-old. Well, he only owns one. He only owns that one county. You guys are relatively weak, though. Allied to each other. Assume Holland is still somewhat strong. Yes. Gelray is badly in debt. They're really relying on their alliance. Just thinking of where the best place to attack is. I guess the other question is he is Dutch, so I wouldn't be able to use the champion the Dutch culture. All right. Is there anything that I haven't done? You know, Knight of the Swan, I'd have to switch. I mean, it probably is worth switching the swords for hire. So we'll do that. How expensive? I don't think it's that expensive. All right. We'll visit this castle holding. Ugh. Really not much in the way of knights, but I guess bad knight's better than no knight. Would I want to try to be near the Kingdom of Italy? They're very powerful. Or at least they're decently powerful. Yeah, I don't think so. Is there anything else I can do to help myself here? Oh yeah, Knight of the Swan. Haha, that's what I meant to do. We will be a valiant knight. Let's have the Swan Song and Adventure Bloodline. So we do have our custom house motto here. Life is not a pony camp. Apparently an actual Dutch saying. Thought it was appropriate for this level of difficulty. Let's see how this works. Oh, I get tons of men. Oh wait, that's not good. I started the war against High King Sigurdur. Oh, I thought I would start it against just a vassal. That's not good at all. I have the weak hook and I am Catholic faith. Is there any way to befriend him? Well, there's the obvious way to befriend. Okay, fine. There's the obvious way to befriend him, which is diplomacy and getting the befriend. All right. So for now, more contracts. So we'll keep doing contracts until we get the befriend perk. Then we will attempt to befriend Jarl Sigurdur. I shouldn't say Jarl Sigurdur. Emperor Sigurdur, High King Sigurdur, whatever he is now. Yep, High King. And then we will try to use that to peacefully take over one of these duchies. Pick up a couple of knights. Again, I'm gonna try to get our children as make sure that we are appropriately educating them. getting the best personality traits we can. Lost some of our buildings when we became swords for hire, which is understandable. So again, just doing some contracts while we wait to get the befriend perk from diplomacy. Then we are going to try to befriend High King Sigurdur. And then once we befriend him, we should be able to peacefully take over a Dutch county. Sorry, a Dutch duchy. So it shouldn't be too much longer before we get it. Okay, so we do need to fight, getting some decent knights. And again, we do need to fight. Presumably it'll be in lowlands in Holland, though again, now we know that if you try to champion the Dutch culture, you end up fighting the top liege, not a vassal, so that's good to know. So I'm looking for the capital of okay, so his capital is over here now. Okay, that's fine. We'll travel to his capital. It's actually probably better. There'll be better contracts around it. I guess we probably didn't even need to travel all this way. Question is, can we befriend him? Looks like it. Meantime, we will let's go to the castle holding first, and then we will tutor his children. Okay, we will tutor his children. Again, just looking for the highest. Highest chance of success here. So again, nice chunk of gold. Organization's probably the best. Now we're just waiting to hopefully befriend Sigurdur, and then we will be able to hopefully go and champion the Dutch culture peacefully. Don't think I need any more journals. I have more than enough. Okay, 3-star. It's not great, but it's okay. Could be much worse. Oh, crap. So we have to give this guy a bad trait. Guess we'll make him shy. The other argument is for Craven. Paranoid, just the stress is so much. Probably should have checked his prowess beforehand, especially because it's quite high. So this could be a horrible mistake. Guess we're going to find out. Okay, so that was dumb to not check his prowess beforehand. We'll try not to do anything that bad or that silly again. We'll go on a monument expedition. See, knowledge hoarding is the one that increases skills, so we'll do that. Also educate our homely son here. Some Fortunate that he's homely. Again, we're really just waiting for this befriend scheme to fire. Stewardship skill, yes. Try to get more points. Wow, those are some good bodyguards. Jesus. Yeah, I guess we'll take them. 26 and 32 prowess. That is nuts. So, you know, minor stewardship skill increase. That's okay. Guess we can do what could be one last camp revelry. Looks like Sigurdur might be off to fight someone, and indeed he is. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see how this sorts out with England here. Gaining Shrewd would be amazing. Didn't happen though. All right. So I do want to stop in a temple somewhere. Here looks good. On the way back to Holland. Looks like they're fighting. Looks like Germania did win. Okay, so this something we've talked about in prior series is harm events and then precursor events. You know, harm event, random harm event is one where you can get an event that can either kill you, render you incapable. They've been nerfed from what they originally were, so some of them are easier to escape than they used to be. But before you get the random harm event, you know, say 3 to 5 years before, you get a precursor event like this one. Right, so presumably, you know, this is saying, hey, went to this secluded spot, no one else is around, borders run deep, suggest they drain towards something larger nearby. So, you know, possibly 3 to 5 years from now, our character comes to this and ends up drowning himself. So, yeah, you know, be cognizant of that. It's not automatic. You know, it could be that doesn't happen at all, but it's something we need to be aware of. You know, basically a way to say, you know, hey, get your affairs in order. I think here we're, oh, I already have Blessing of Peace. Okay, but I thought I could get Blessing of Peace again. I guess not. Let's go over here to Holland. And see if we can champion the Dutch culture peacefully. I cannot. Almost hit the wrong thing there. Why can't I? I don't get it. I don't have a... I need to be a Satru faith. Fine. We'll wait a minute to become a Satru. Or Osatru, or however it's pronounced. I know there have been people who have expressed concern about the mangling of the name of the Norse faith. Okay, 27th of February. So okay, so very short period of time here. We'll just wait. All right. Now let's check this again. Also, we'll adopt a kennel dog. Like having dogs. Black, eyes are blue, puppy, very good girl. I wonder if it ever says they're something besides a very good girl. Okay, so we don't have a high-born Dutch spouse. We do have a weak hook on Sigurdur. We are his friend, right? Make sure we still have a hook on him. Yes. Okay, there's our hook. Can demand payment for the hook. Okay, hooks I hold, yes. It says right there, he's my friend, so that's 2 of them. Okay, weak hook, friend, and so then it's a Satru faith, or again, Osatru, or however it's pronounced. I guess the question is, do we want to get these claims, or at least the one in Italia, before... Yeah, I guess let's go and get the one in Italia. I don't know that I'll use it, but sure. Also, let's go ahead and demand payments. Obviously, we want to be very careful that we do not demand payment from High King Sigurdur. That would be a significant error. Let's see if we can get more gold here. Many of these, it's almost not worth it. No, it is for that one. But 10 gold is just so little. All right, so let's convert to Ossetru. Which I can't do because the cost is nuts. Man, that is unfortunate. Okay. So being landed more difficult than I had thought. Is there any small coastal area I can just use to become landed at this point? It says their military strength is superior to ours. I am very skeptical. So now we're just evaluating the options to become landed. I guess we should have tried to take over Dutch culture earlier before it became conquered by these other rulers that aren't Catholic. I think we could try to get 16,000 piety, but that's obviously a lot. Maybe we could try to do something cheeky like travel to this place and seize the realm, but I think that's awfully risky. We could go to Italia and tries to seize the realm. Jarldom of Sardinia. Weird that doesn't seem to include High King Sigurdar's strength when you look at the Allies' military strength. But it looks like some Viking has already beaten us to Sardinia. Oh. Could go out to... No, we cannot go out to Iceland. So, the other option would be to do a straight duchy invasion of, say, Phrygia. They only have 79 levies, so he could just King Sigurd says he won't join the war, which is good because that would be very bad otherwise. So yeah, we could just do this. So we got Dutch land one way or the other. Hopefully this all works out. That was easy enough. See that we captured him. We'll get those 3 counties. We'll become a veteran adventurer. And so, we are landed. One thing we certainly want to do is put on a feudal succession law. I thought that would... Okay. It did not do what I thought it would. Yeah, I thought putting that feudal succession law on would mean that everything would go to my main heir, but that was incorrect apparently. So, not great. Those bodyguards. Well, the control in this area isn't great. We'll get it up. We go with low obligations here. Interesting question of what lifestyle do we want? Oh, we have sanctioned loopholes. I'd forgotten that. Maybe we do want martial. do still have that hook, so maybe we can usefully modify our contract here. I assume we can't use it to get council rights without going up on everything. He's still tribal. I mean, war declaration would be the really conservative play here. Guess we'll do that. Now, ideally, I can get my son married to someone who is a genius. That looks very good. Who are you? Okay, you're far away. Presumably one of Diary the Strangers, or however his name is pronounced. Children. Yep. That's fine. Likewise here. Want to get them married to let's go with intelligence first. Accolade, we definitely want Vanguard. There it is. We will station all of our regiments. Also see about building. Trade ports. And since this guy is architect, I'm going to fill out our baronies here. Okay, obviously taking a good bit of gold, spending a good bit of gold, but that's okay. Alright, now that I am the head of Dutch culture, we're still in tribal, we are, but it should be early medieval relatively soon. I need needs 7 counties. So what we'll do here is we are going to buy a claim on you. And we'll attack once all of our I don't think I need to go for the grand tournament. I'd rather sort out my succession here. Get these lands that I want. So I made our character martial and made him, strategy focused. That's a bit rare for me. Usually I don't do the strategy focus. Usually I usually do chivalry if I do anything for a martial or whatever it's called. Yeah, chivalry focus. But the reason is, this guy, I don't expect him to lead armies, or maybe he could, but I do want our military to be as strong as it can, and so I thought martial was the best way to do that. By having a high martial, he gets benefits in terms of number of knights, army gold maintenance, and so forth. But what I really want here is I'm concerned about our succession. I want to try to keep all of the counties in at least one of these territories. Maybe it's Frisia, maybe it's Holland. Keep them all so that they all go to one of my main heir. Interesting, they moved away from his capital. Not sure what the benefit of doing that was. And of course, want to get the Kingdom of Frisia here fairly quickly. See, we're getting a lot of activities. That's fairly typical for playing on very hard, because the AI has more gold and activities are cheaper for it, and so you get the AI holding a lot of activities. It's one of the silver linings of playing on very hard. It's like the war between the English and our new liege is sort of going back and forth. Okay, I guess I didn't get any of the underlying counties, unfortunately. That's okay. Huh. Both these guys are in quite a bit of debt, which is good. So just a question of which is the easier one to attack. Let's let our armies fully regenerate, reinforce first. So interesting now that I have a second duchy title, that this kind of works the way I expected, where everything is going to my main player heir. Whereas before, the counties in Phrygia were getting split up. All right, so this guy has some decent allies. This guy, it's really just this one military company he is allied to. His armies have been otherwise destroyed. So I think we take him, and then the thing we really just have to watch out for are his alliance with that mercenary company. Guess I should have probably raised down here. Didn't think that I could. Let's see here. Where's he going? If we can catch his armies, that would be good. I assume it'll take him a while. Alright, well, there's his allies, unfortunately. We don't need any more books. Do we want some mercenaries? Ideally something that counters heavy infantry. Also, don't we just have an ally we can call in? Yes. Okay, good. That was a bit lucky. I think it was going to be tricky to fight those guys if we had to, but we don't. Now we form Phrygia. So many books. Holy crap. All right. Okay, that's understandable. Let's think about what I want to. Looking for people who it says are legendary, probably worth funding them. One thing I'm not clear on is whether someone is actually making a crown for me. See if we can get some good development books. Those benefits, seems like the person that provides them always just disappears. So they're quite temporary, but we'll take them while we have them. Fortunately, we don't have plenary assemblies. Okay, hopefully that creates a crown. Okay, well, I guess we'll just wait a little bit until we go to an area that does not have plagues. Let's not sure how I can hold a blot since I'm not also true. guess the question is, do I have a crown? I do not. And that's why I guess we'll make some crappy crown if nothing else. Oh, and of course, certainly want these available. Make more gold. Always love gold. We should convert our children so we can make the witch coven. Right, I wanted to make an artifact. That was it. I almost never do that, so where is the decision? There we go. Make the world's worst crown. Guess it is what it is. Probably should, start going to any grand tournaments just to get the potential for more artifacts. Okay. So we're going to call it here. We did finally become landed, so that's good. Now we'll see if this is paid off. We've already blown through a big chunk of our gold. Looks like Germania and either defeated Britannia or they had a white peace for their war. White peace, it looks like. Yep. All right, so we'll just have to see how that plays out. We could have gone and grabbed Brittany. Oh well. Okay. So, big step here. Again, see how this plays out. This was really, the goal to, become landed and invest all our gold and, trade ports and other benefits. So, thanks very much for watching this episode. Please like, subscribe, comment, and I hope you will continue to watch the rest of the series. Thanks very much. Goodbye.